Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Katie and we are going to go beyond the box for Artful. Before we go too far into things, please make sure you've hit that subscribe button and have those notifications on, and while you're at it, why not give me a little old thumbs up. It really helps the channel and it gives me an idea on what you're liking and what you're not liking. With that being said, let's crack on, shall we? So yes, the Artful box seems like absolutely ages ago. I think it was back in May, wasn't it? It was either May or very early June, and it was just before the house move, so it was actually quite good to play about with these a little bit more. I decided not to use the Artful paper as I wanted to keep using my handmade sketch pad, and I also wanted to see how these would fare on a smoother paper. Now luckily for you, I have two painting practices here. So we have this little hare, I think it might actually be a rabbit, and then we have another picture a little later on in this video. I thought I'd see how these paints worked with a more looser style, and it's something I'm trying out at the moment as well. Obviously having a more textured paper is going to get those granulating colours to have more of an effect. But saying that, I actually really like how some of the granulation came out with the colours on here. I also decided to use my own brushes because a lot of things were half packed away at the time, and I just kept my regular brushes available, and they just seemed like the right choice, especially the teeny tiny ones. Now, as far as the looser colours in the background are concerned, I actually really enjoyed applying the colours there and just watching them all interact with their different concentrations and different pigment properties. However, they did just dry a little lighter than how they went down. Yes, that's a normal thing with some watercolours, and that's okay. I'm not criticising or anything. I did actually get in touch with Artful after the unboxing video about the pigment information, and I did pop that up on a community post, and it all looks pretty legit. I was quite pleasantly surprised actually. Although I completely forgot to get in touch with them about those additional cards, so I suppose I should do that now. I've got an established address, so that's just reminded me. But yes, as you can see in front of you now, it did dry a little light to the background, and again, that's not a bad thing because I didn't want it too deep, but it just goes to show that you should always swatch your materials, I guess is what I'm trying to say. After I got the loose form of everything down, I started to go to town on those details using some of the deeper, darker browns that were included. I can't for the life of me remember which one it was, but it was the darkest brown in that set. I love that colour, that is so nice. It's just about brown, but it's more verging on the black, and it was great for adding them details in there. And I also thought I would add a few wacky colours in there. So there was a purple colour, I used that on the back of the bunny rabbit there, and I think that contrasted beautifully with the background. I also added a bit of a tealy colour in there too, because I thought, well, why not, eh? Let's see what happens. And again, I really like how that worked out too. I used I think it's a cat tongue brush. It's the pointy one, which stays pointy when it's been dipped in the water. I used that to add the grass because I thought I could get a sort of grass form with it, but still keep it loose so it doesn't look odd against the picture there. And I'm quite happy with that, and used the colours neat out of the pan. Well, when I say that, I didn't mix my own greens, I just used the greens that were there. That's what I meant. After just adding a little bit more shadow to the rabbit, it was time to add some highlights, and again I just used the Daler-Rowney Pro White Gouache, and that worked a treat. Now, the next painting I've done, I found an amazing hack. So I'm not great at applying masking fluid out of the bottle. Personally, I would prefer to use a pen, especially for those fine lines. And let's face it, it doesn't look after our brushes so good either. And there was a watercolour page on Facebook, and it just popped up in my thread that someone had used a glass pen. And I thought, what a marvellous idea. So I thought, well, I've got two glass pens, and there's one I actually do use for ink, and there was one which I just didn't find that comfortable to work with. Let me tell you, using a glass pen to apply masking fluid is really, really good. I've used plotting pens before, just didn't work with me. I couldn't quite get the control I wanted, but with the glass pen it worked a treat, and it was so easy to clean off. You literally just let it dry and it peels off. So if you have a glass pen, maybe you don't use it for ink anymore, or even if you do actually, I really recommend you use it with masking fluid. It works great. Anyway, we're at the painting stage now, so again, continuing using the paints quite loosely and just letting them do their thing. I thought for this turtle's shell, I would just add lots of wet layers and introduce the colours quite loosely and let them do the thing. And again, you can see now, going back to that masking fluid technique, it works, it really worked. I started off with a green layer and then started to introduce other colours in there like the browns, and then I went in and used the blues. Now if our turtle friend here had been on the beach, I wouldn't have introduced those blues, but the reference image, which was from Pexels, and that was for both the bunny and this turtle, the turtle was underwater, so I thought, right, okay, let's try and make a convincing replication of a turtle being underwater, and of course those blues are going to be reflected within the turtle's segments on the shell. After that I went in with those darker markings and areas of shadow, but I think they're mostly markings of the actual turtle's shell. For the body, instead of using a green, I went in there with a yellow ochre and just added that first layer in, and I don't know why, but I decided I had to do that with the smallest brush I had. I guess you could say this was a hybrid of me using a looser style and then possibly having second thoughts halfway through it and thinking, nope, I've got to go in there with some fine details. I added a tinge of that tealy blue before I started working in on the other details too. It was actually really helpful to have had that masking fluid down, and I'm actually glad I got to showcase it to you guys too. There were lots of little segmenty details where the turtle's scales were, and general folds in the skin, as well as how they interacted on the shells. And if I'll be honest, if I'd just painted that without using any masking fluid, that really would have proved difficult and incredibly time consuming as well. So I was really glad to use this as an opportunity to try the masking fluid with the glass pen and just relax a little bit more with this picture. Of course, there comes a point where the masking fluid has to come off, so before I do that, I just add in some more of those darker details where it would just be awful if it bled into where I didn't want it to. It was also really nice to be able to work this way because I'd got a general idea of the form of the subject, again down to the masking tape being down, and that kind of acted like a guide or a template while I was applying all those colours. I don't know about you, but sometimes I tend to find that there can be details that can be lost, especially when there are a lot of them, so having that masking fluid there really helped. I must admit as well, it was incredibly satisfying to remove the masking fluid once I'd finished doing the areas of painting that I wanted to do. If I can give you one tip though, using that glass pen, no pun intended, make sure you clean it in between dips because it dries quickly and it will clog and it will cause too much to run out. But apart from that, I absolutely recommend it. And look how nicely that came off. Not too much went on and not too little went on either where it didn't work. So yes, perfect application. Yay! So here we have the bunny again, so you can have a proper look. Again, I'm really happy with how that came out, and you can see there those gorgeous granulation details in the background. I actually don't mind that the background dried slightly lighter because that made the foreground pop out even more. And of course we have the turtle again, and I'm really happy with how this turned out, and again I'm so glad I used the masking fluid here, just helped me to create a little bit more of a detailed piece there. You could say there was a bit of a tortoise and hare scenario here. The hare or bunny was painted quickly and the tortoise was a little bit more chill. Anyway, I do hope you've enjoyed this video, and please let me know in the comments what you thought. There should be some more videos on screen right now I think you're going to love, and until the next video, I'll see you soon. Bye!